In the aftermath of his party's disappointing showings in key races in Wisconsin and Florida, President Donald Trump didn't pause to reassess or recalibrate. Instead, he did what has become his signature political reflex: he doubled down. Within hours, Trump announced sweeping new tariffs on imports from nearly all U.S. trading partners, a move so vast and abrupt that even some of his own supporters were left unsettled. This wasn't just an economic decision, it was a deeply ideological statement, the culmination of 4 decades of Trump's belief that protectionism is the key to restoring American greatness. But what he set into motion may end up not as a renewal, but as an economic and political unraveling of historic proportions. The fallout was immediate. Markets plummeted in a way not seen since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the Dow Jones shedding nearly 4,000 points over 2 days. Investor confidence evaporated almost overnight, and major U.S. trading partners began retaliating swiftly. China moved to impose its own duties on American exports, while the European Union pledged to coordinate resistance. Instead of inviting negotiation or reform, Trump's tariffs have provoked a backlash that could spiral into a full-blown trade war, one the United States is far from ready to win. This tariff package is not a precision tool aimed at correcting specific imbalances. It is a blunt force weapon wielded against the global economy, with reckless disregard for nuance. While Trump insists that these measures will reignite domestic manufacturing and bring back American jobs, even his allies are beginning to question the cost of this economic experiment. Inflation is already creeping upward, and interest rates may soon follow. Consumers will pay more for everyday goods, supply chains will face further disruption, and key sectors like agriculture, automotive, and technology are bracing for shockwaves. For many Americans, especially those on fixed incomes or working in export-dependent industries, this isn't abstract policy, it's a threat to their livelihoods. Trump's insistence that the economy will boom in the face of a collapsing stock market and skyrocketing uncertainty is not just tone-deaf, it's delusional. His decision to spend the day on the golf course as thousands watch their retirement accounts shrink only adds to the sense that this administration is both out of touch and indifferent to the pain it's inflicting. Meanwhile, White House officials have dug in, describing the tariffs as a rejection of business-as-usual politics. But this isn't innovation. It's economic vandalism dressed up as patriotism. Even within Trump's own party, cracks are forming. Lawmakers like Representative French Hill have publicly questioned the wisdom of such broad, indiscriminate tariffs, especially against longtime allies like Canada and Mexico. Others are warning privately that the GOP may be steering itself into a political disaster. These are not the grumblings of never-Trumpers. They're warnings from Republican officials who now see a tidal wave of political backlash forming just over the horizon. Voters who were promised prosperity are now grappling with rising prices, vanishing investment, and a deepening sense of instability. The American people are responding. Over the weekend, the country saw its largest protests since Trump's return to office, with activists, union leaders, and everyday citizens flooding city centers to express their fear and fury. Rallies like Hands Off are tapping into a growing realization that the nation is on a dangerous path, not just economically, but constitutionally and morally. The symbolism of Americans gathering beneath monuments to democracy while denouncing what they view as authoritarian drift is impossible to ignore. Even some of Trump's base is getting uneasy. Retirees like Frank Amoroso, once hopeful about Trump's economic agenda, are beginning to question the wisdom of this hard-charging strategy. And while donors like Doug Deason still express confidence that short-term pain will yield long-term gain, there's a growing sense that this gamble might backfire catastrophically. At the same time, Democrats are slowly shaking off the paralysis that followed their 2024 loss. They're gaining momentum, not just from Republican missteps, but from a swelling grassroots movement that's growing more energized and more organized by the day. The decisive win in Wisconsin State Supreme Court race, despite a massive financial effort from pro-Trump forces, is being interpreted as the first real sign of political realignment. Senator Cory Booker's marathon speech on the Senate floor struck a nerve, offering a rallying cry for a party that is finally beginning to find its footing again. If the consequences of these tariffs unfold as many economists predict, The United States could be looking at a recession before the end of the year. And if that happens, Trump's presidency could face the same kind of collapse that befell Herbert Hoover in the wake of the Great Depression. Ezra Levin of Indivisible put it bluntly, raising prices across the board for your constituents is not popular. If Trump's economic nationalism results in mass layoffs, price hikes, and cratering consumer confidence, the political reckoning could be swift, brutal, and generational. The danger is not just in the numbers. It's in the precedent. A president, facing political setbacks and opposition at home, has unilaterally reshaped the global economic order without congressional approval or public mandate. This level of executive overreach, without transparency, without accountability, should alarm anyone who values checks and balances. The silence from the White House is not strength. It is a calculated strategy of control through chaos. Trump may believe he's redefining the global economy in America's favor, but the early signs suggest he's destabilizing it and risking the very future he claims to protect. The clock is ticking, and the damage may already be underway.